And welcome back to our podcast. I'm Savannah.
I'm Michaela.
I'm Bree.
Throughout this semester, we have found that many differences exist from culture to culture. In discussing the evolution of sex and gender, examples and stories have been shared from many different geographical locations. So today, we have decided to talk about the way that family structure, gender roles, and the evolution of identity has occurred in 3 specific cultures, through traditional Chinese, West African, and Middle Eastern practices.
I'm going to start us off by discussing sex and gender in traditional Chinese culture. Traditional structures are deeply rooted in religion and vast history, making it harder to adapt to the evolving world of gender norms and identities. The social world highly impacts our perceptions of what is normal and what is different, of what we accept and what we shame. In the traditional Chinese culture, family is considered to be one of the most central institutions. Family is said to provide the individuals within with their sense of identity and support. This is because it's a collectivist culture, meaning the needs, goals, and values of the group as a whole hold more emphasis than that of the individuals within it. The most important relationships exist within the family, and family is the foundation of social organization, which also suggests that peer influence may be less prevalent in Chinese culture compared to America. I think this is another reason this culture's ability to adapt is much slower than more progressive cultures. When it comes to the structure of society, gender norms, and roles, the male or husband is expected to show dominance and kindness towards his wife, and she shows obedience and love in return. As a father, he offers guidance and protection to the children, and the children respect and obey him. There is expectation of great honor of the elders in this culture. This may look something like consulting them before making a large financial decision and caring for them as they live with you in their old age. In marriage, it is expected that socioeconomic status is highly considered. While there was no mention directly, the terms bride and groom and husband and wife are often used in this area of my research. The female and male gender connotations are deeply rooted core aspects of this highly religious and historic culture. The closest word to gender in Chinese is xingbi, meaning the difference of individual by nature or tendencies. The word tendencies gives hope that there is room to grow outside of that which is nature and known. So physiological characteristics are mentioned in the base of social identity. It appears as most of the belief that exists within the social culture still remains in the boundaries of male and female identities. Smith et al. Mentions that people outside of these boundaries, specifically gay men, are treated as a monolithic risk group. And it was found that closeted men will often marry women due to the cultural expectation. Historical progression has been very minimal in the traditional Chinese culture. Women have more recently experienced more equality and freedom to do things outside of the household and in careers. There's a lot of room for improvement, but I argue this will be one of the more challenging cultures to transition.
Thank you for that, Bree. I'm now going to discuss Western African cultures. In many rural cultures, including Western African cultures, they are based on social traditions with traditional gender roles. These gender roles have been tested with the takeover of nationalism in respect to tribalism in these rural cultures. In family structure, the traditional rural setting of Western Africa, an individual is first a member of the family and then of the tribe. Family and tribal loyalties support each other harmoniously. The tribe can demand something of someone, but it varies with complexity. As nationalism and colonialism have begun to take over Western Africa, the importance of the relationship between family has diminished. It is judged that when it is the best interest of the family, a husband should do the housework or childcare, and a wife should be able to go to a literacy class, take a job in the office, or make a decision about how to spend the family's money. Even in a traditional rural community, gender roles are judged to be alterable when it is in the best interest of the individual or family. Now to talk about gender roles. Women in Africa are generally responsible for reproductive work, such as taking care of the child, while both men and women undertake productive work. Women are mainly responsible for their household needs for food and fuel. In contrast, men are the main breadwinners and therefore often engage in high-value activities such as hard labor jobs that earn income to support their families. There are traditional customs that reflect gender hierarchy in family and marital arrangements. Hierarchy is justified with the references to power of the man more than what is best for the group. It is seen that the husband should decide for his wife because, quote-unquote, he owns her and because he has more power than the woman. There are moral aspects where, when psychological welfare and possible family needs come into play, gender roles can be challenged. Now on to historical progression. There has not been a lot of progression throughout the years. The slave trade and colonialism has set more of a hierarchical society for the people of Western Africa. In pre-colonial times, women in Western Africa led armies and played important consultative roles in politics. Pre-colonial Western Africa societies were not rigid. There were same-sex marriages, as long as the women could uphold the kinship ties. This type of society perplexed Europeans. They were uncomfortable that their gendered worldview did not map into societies that they encountered, like that of Western Africa. The church disseminated the message that individuals who did not conform to their idea of men and women could be a bad influence on the Christian colonial society. These acts of deviance that were performed in Western Africa were used as decoys by the Europeans to distract from their socio-economic and political dysfunction.
As for that, I feel like I have a lot more insight on different cultures throughout the world. I personally looked into the systems of the Middle East and how the topics of family and gender have evolved throughout history. To start, the Middle East is divided into various countries that bring a multitude of cultural and religious traditions that shape the family and societal values. The countries in the Middle East are Cyprus, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Yemen. However, research into the family and gender systems focuses mainly on Arab, Iranian, Lebanese, and Armenian people. The central theme that I found in research is that the patriarchal society of the Middle East continues to create a hierarchy where men thrive and pursue their careers while women are placed in the home to do everything else. Women are faced with shame and denial of personhood in many aspects of these cultures. The family structure of the Middle East has a central focus around the father of the family, where the father figure is recognized as the head of the house that makes the decisions. Specifically, the Arab family is the dominant social factor that dictates a person's religion, social status, and identity. The family has a patriarchal hierarchy pyramid as far as age and sex. Within this, one member's actions can bring honor or shame to an entire family. Similarly, the Iranian family also runs on a patriarchal system where the fathers have complete control over the entire family. The Armenian and Lebanese families find family to be an extension of oneself. These families tend to extend generations where all of them live collectively in one household. Family holds a strong sense of protection and support. The relationships are tight-knit and complex within their traditions. Because of patriarchal values, men and women in the Middle East engage in stereotypical relations with one another. Women are not to engage in argument or pushback against men in a public setting. Women also must ask for permission for large decisions. Things like marriage need permission due to societal pressures that come with combining families. In marriage within the Middle East, families combine their wealth, so there are really high stakes that come with marriage that can drastically change social status. Marriages in certain areas are arranged and view women as a new subservient figure within the new husband's household, once again uplifting stereotypical gender roles. Within the heteronormative societal expectations, there's great backlash on